we can watch the Fox News clip that really upset Matt Walsh before we watch.
Oh yeah, let's watch the Fox News clip first, because Fox. I don't know what happened. If there's a producer there who's like, I got to say that I have a trans person in my family, and so maybe we shouldn't.
I think we should, maybe humanize them instead of call them groomers.
Exactly. But Fox has a moment of empathy. One can only imagine who at Fox, has a personal relationship with somebody who's trans, maybe,
and certainly
a kid, or
and certainly this would not. I don't think, and prove me if I'm, or you can prove me wrong. I don't know if this aired, when this aired, but I would imagine it aired during the day and not on one of their primetime shows.
Oh, without a doubt.
Or maybe even on the weekend.
Only walking down the street, you wouldn't think anything different.
14-year-old Ryland Whittington is a typical Southern California teenager. And the Whittingtons, along with mom Hillary, dad Jeff, and sister Brinley, are a typical family. The only difference, though, in Ryland's eyes, is what this family can mean to the tens of thousands of kids under 18 who identify as transgender.
We put our story out there so people could see that there's another family out there that is going through what we're going through, or there's another family who's proud of who they are.
Before Ryland could even speak, he managed to tell his parents that he is a boy.
I could just see it. It wasn't him trying to be a brat. It was painful. It was truly painful for him to have to wear feminine clothing and for us constantly telling him that you're a girl.
And unlike some trans kids, when Ryland came out at age 5 a few years later, he had the full support of his parents.
Initially, there was some pushback from us in trying to understand this.
We were confused like most people are. We thought that gender and sexuality were the same thing. It took us a while to figure out that those two things are different and that children actually do recognize their gender identity very young. Some of them, not all.
But they listened to Ryland and to Hillary's conservative faith.
For me, it's just a deep spiritual belief that you believe in God and he, created us the way he wanted us. Well, then yes, he created Ryland just the way he is.
And they listened to families. They met in support groups.
There was a father who was sitting across the table. He says, "You have no idea how lucky you are to be here," which kind of took me back. I didn't at that point consider myself lucky to be there. And he said, our child had displayed this gender dysphoria or this gender misalignment at the same age that Ryland has. And we didn't listen, and we pushed back.
That pushback led that child to turn to self-harm as a teenager, which 60% of trans and non-binary kids engage in, according to the Trevor Project. More than 50% consider suicide.
That, for me, was the turning point. I didn't want to see Ryland to go through that.
I'd rather have a living son than a dead daughter. I guarantee that if we had pushed back and done what a lot of parents do, I don't think that we would have either one of the kids that you see before you here today.
Allowing him to live authentically and true to himself and be who he really feels like he is. When you get to know Ryland, you see just how proud and confident he is of himself.
So I just looked up the correspondent on Fox who did this segment, and he is a member of the LGBTQ community. He's gay and has according to his Wikipedia, spoken about being a gay conservative. So there's your answer in terms of maybe
Did that air recently on Fox?
Yeah.
Just like this weekend?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, the weekend.
Yeah. I'll double check the date.
So I was right?
It was within the last day.
This was buried on the weekend.
On June 10th.
Okay, Friday.
So Friday, last Friday.
But during the day.
And I have to say, that's a great piece. And
I think
honestly,
one of the important things that they get is that this comes from the kids. The kids tell the parents, and it's not parents grooming or indoctrinating.
Yeah.
Which is it should be obvious, but that's the narrative that's going around now.
Of course.
And for a Fox News audience, that's a blonde family, all American looking.
Mom
for
refers to God as him.
Yes.
Exactly.
The exact kind of people they want on their screen.
Gender is immutable. Even for the invisible person up in the sky. But be that as it may,
take what you can get.
Take what you can get. This should be a message to conservatives everywhere, unless, of course, you have sunk your fortunes into a movie that argues completely against this premise And that would make you really upset, wouldn't it, Matt Walsh?
Speaking of legitimizing choices after the fact, nobody at Fox has explained how this toxic nonsense ended up on the airwaves. Now, I know for a fact that many of the people who work at Fox do not agree with this, do not want to be associated with it. But a decision was made by somebody to do this report and air it. All the parties involved should explain themselves, and then they should be fired also. Oh, are you promoting cancel culture? You want to cancel these people? Absolutely, I want to cancel them. Yes. They should be fired for sure. Named, shamed, and fired. When you put dishonest, militant trans propaganda on the airwaves.
There's nothing dishonest or militant about that at all.
Oh, you didn't think that was militant?
Just
those parents were like paramilitary.
Throwing a football with their kid.
Oh my God. Throwing a baseball around like that
Sitting
kid,
on the couch.
sitting there talking about going to a group and referring to God. I like the fact that he is in favor of that cancel culture.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. He admitted.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is...
It's that meme.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think that's absolutely fine. And of course, they need that type of purity. They don't want the message that, contrary to everything that he has built his career on, that trans people are just people who feel that they are trans. And as opposed to having been groomed by the parents. How would the parents have gotten on TV had they not groomed that child?
Well, you didn't see the teacher that was probably grooming Ryland. Was his
and
name?
And the parents at parent-teacher conferences.
Yes.
Probably.
I mean, that is one powerful, hypnotic LGBTQ teacher that was grooming them.
Let's let Matt Walsh rage against this, the Fox, this paragon of pro-trans militancy.
That's going to do and is doing immeasurable harm to thousands of kids, then yeah, you should be fired for that. Fox speaks largely to a conservative audience, and nobody in the audience wants any part of this. Of all the people that were watching Fox on that Friday when that report aired, how many of them wanted that? So this is propaganda made.
This is an interesting
window into the fan service mind of a news commentator.
Right, exactly. How many of these people wanted to hear that story? And then he actually is going to go on to talk about propaganda. I mean...
But that's also conservative. Well, yeah. The First Amendment guys want to fire a news reporter for a segment that they didn't like on their favorite channel. Oh my God!
How good? This is like, honestly, like Fox News is like Starbucks rolling out a new croissant sandwich or something. Like nobody's coming there for that.
What's a croissant?
No, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like super fans of some sort of,
Star Wars
fantasy of Star Wars, right?
Star Wars.
They put a black person in space, or this is not canon. I mean, the Last Jedi did not effectively build on the Force Awakens, and
it's not that we don't like her because she's Asian. It's because her character's bad.
Yeah,
Ghostbusters were never meant to be women. Go back a little bit, just like the juxtaposition of him saying, like, how many people in that audience want to see that? And then he literally, the next word is propaganda.
They're rubbing it in our face.
How many of them wanted that? So this is propaganda made by and for an audience that doesn't watch Fox and hates Fox, and especially hates Fox's actual audience. But forget about conservative for a moment, okay? Put that aside. If Fox News wants to call itself news, then it cannot put insane falsehoods and radical far-left lies and propaganda on the air if you want to be a news organization. Especially this kind of propaganda, worst of all. Propaganda which aims to exploit and destroy children. So, Fox's audience has to call the network to account. I mean, nothing less than a full retraction and apology should be accepted here.
You know what this is about?
Name one falsehood from that
No.
report. Name one.
you saw him throw the baseball. That was the first time he ever threw a baseball.
It's a little militant, that throw, I think.
You know what this actually is about, though, is that Fox is not. He wants Fox to be promoting his new documentary, What is a Woman?
That's
exactly, and they're not doing it because Ben Shapiro has been all over social media. I mean, they're part of the Daily Wire together, so it's in Ben's interest to promote that. But they're pissed, I'm sure, that they're not getting enough promotion for his documentary.
Yeah, this is all just. Where are the lies? Where's the militancy?
Needs to be both sides on Fox News.
How much less militant could they present themselves as? Like literally a Christian family talking about God, and pictures of them like dressed up like Mario Brothers making cookies or whatever,
and loving their children unconditionally, like literally, like
disgusting,
like militant.
That's disgusting propaganda.
And Matt Walsh goes on Twitter to talk about how this is, he mentioned exploiting kids, but this is permanently harming children. What permanently harms children is to deny their reality and then make them go through a puberty for a body that they don't identify with. That's ruining kids' lives. That's what causes suicide.
Did he tweet out that he's not going to go on Fox?
He said, I've appeared on Fox many times. I appreciate the platform they've given me. If what I'm about to say ruins that relationship, so be it. That is not.
Balls in your court.
Let me see the tweet. Let me see the tweet. Put it up. Let's put it up.
It's a thread. Why didn't you use the emoji?
I have appeared on Fox News many times. Look at how militant that.
I thought they liked militancy.
It's almost like too disturbing to look at how violent and militant this video is, even without the sound. It looks like, look at that kid. Oh God, the family vacation.
At the fishing.
Oh God. Oh, look at, they're all smiling. It's this. Oh, jeez. Jesus. I mean, literally. Fred, I have appeared on Fox News many times. I appreciate the platform they've given me. If what I'm about to say ruins that relationship, so be it. We have to call this evil lunacy out whenever we see it, especially on our own side. Hold on, let me just see how well that tweet did. Look at it; it's probably his best performing tweet in the history of his career. Today, Fox ran a long segment for Pride Month celebrating a quote trans kid who quote came out as a boy at the age of 5. The piece did not simply report on the controversy surrounding child transitioning; it outright promotes the practice.
Yeah, because it's good.
The reporter says that the child announced a new gender as a toddler. Does Fox want us to believe that babies can choose their gender? This is the most extreme, radical, dangerous form of gender ideology, and it's being promoted on Fox News. I cannot. It is stunning to me that a parent of any child does not become conscious of how we form gender, how we impose gender on kids. Some of it is, there's definitely, I mean, look, I have 2 kids. One's a girl, one's a boy. And they both exhibited typical gender traits. And I felt like I was fairly conscious of not imposing this on them. Didn't care about what color my kids wanted to, wear or whatnot.
Playing with Barbies or trucks or whatever.
No,
yeah.
Didn't care at all. And my kids sorted it out for themselves. And part of it is also, to be fair, other kids. Like, Saul didn't have a problem with pink as a color until he, about first grade, when probably the other boys said, oh, pink is a girl's color. And then all of a sudden he had this sort of irrational concern about the color pink. But if your kid is pushing back on that, and there's nothing to make me believe that family was not sort of promoting, whether consciously or unconsciously, sort of typical gender roles. If your kid is pushing back on that, they're not standing up and saying I'm trans at age 5 as a toddler or whatever it is. They're coming out and saying, I'm not comfortable with this gender that is being imposed upon me. And it's just a question of how much is the parents going to listen?
But that's the key here is Matt Walsh, I don't know if he has kids, but the people who he's speaking to, they're terrified of being put in that position. Like, that is part of what this is. They are so anxious about this happening to their kids and them, and they're unable to view it as something organic that might be within them that they would have to then deal with. Like, this comes out of cowardice about their own inability to emotionally deal with their own children.
I'll tell you something. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that I would have been nervous and wouldn't know how to react, at least at the beginning. I would be anxious about it.
Sure.
I mean, of course it is. But I also think that part of that is not only are they afraid of that, which I think is there's a legitimate fear, that like, my kid may have to go through, how difficult is this going to be for my kid? What does this mean? Am I doing the right thing? All of those things. But also I think for a Walsh, it's also, it is an assault on the patriarchal structure of the family that he buys into, which just coincidentally also puts him at the head.
Yeah, but that anxiety that you talk about that you would have dealt with if it came to, and it's going to become less anxious or less nerve-wracking as there's more segments like this and parents understand that
Without a doubt.
which is why, Republicans are conducting an all-out assault on trans rights. But that anxiety and that tension that's happening right now there, which happens as society has to grapple with accepting new people, or not new people, but new concepts about people. That is what Matt Walsh is exploiting. And he's actively trying to make people worse parents and more anxious parents.
And, cruel parents that cause their kids to harm themselves.
Yep. Talk about exploiting the children.
And he's doing it because he got some movie to promote.
And last point on this, these conservative psychos who are all about protect the children have no problem broadcasting these children. We played Dwayne Wade's kid the other day, and Ryland here, onto their airwaves full of people that hate them and hate their existence on a regular basis. They do not have an issue putting that kid's full name up there and putting them up for mockery. So give me a break with protect the children and this garbage.
Of course.
Yeah, Crowder making fun of Dwayne Wade's kid was maybe the most distasteful thing I've seen in a long time.